Welcome to the Coins channel, and here's a thought that might just make you double check that old change jar in your kitchen. What if the ordinary looking quarter sitting there in plain sight wasn't worth just 25 cents, but instead carried a secret so valuable it could change your life forever? Think about it, millions of these coins were minted, handed over at gas stations, slipped into vending machines, and forgotten in couch cushions, and yet, buried within that sea of common metal lies a rarity so staggering that a single one could hand you the keys to the kind of wealth people spend lifetimes chasing. We're talking about the 1990p Washington quarter, a coin most folks wouldn't even glance at twice, but one that has stunned collectors with a value that reaches into the stratosphere, up to an earth-shaking $78 million. Yes, you heard that right, a quarter. Just 25 cents in face value, holding a price tag bigger than most lottery jackpots. And before I take you deep into the twists and turns of how this came to be, stick with me, because later in this very video I'll tease you with the story of another quarter, just as unassuming, that carries a history and mystery of its own something, so jaw-dropping you won't want to miss a single second. Now, let's get into the meat of this 1990p quarter. A coin that proves that sometimes the most life-changing treasures aren't buried in the ground or locked in vaults, but sitting quietly in your pocket. The 1990p quarter came from the Philadelphia Mint, one of the busiest in the world, responsible for pumping out billions of coins a year. And on the surface, it's as plain as they come. George Washington's stoic profile on the obverse, the heraldic eagle perched with wings spread wide on the reverse. The usual copper nickel-clad composition. That's been standard since silver quarters were phased out in 1965. Nothing about it screams treasure. But as with so many of the greatest coin discoveries, the devil is in the details. Collectors discovered that certain 1990p quarters came with bizarre and highly unusual errors off center stripes. That made Washington's face look like it was sliding off the coin. Double dies that gave letters and numbers a ghostly, doubled up shadow, and even the ultra-rare full-strike anomalies where the details were sharper than anything normally released into circulation. Add to that the fact that Philadelphia was notorious in this era for quality control mishaps, and suddenly what looked like pocket change becomes the ultimate collector's dream. Imagine, for a moment, you're at a yard sale in some quiet neighborhood, and you hand the seller a quarter for a dusty old trinket only to later find out that coin was one of these rare 1990p's worth millions. That's the nightmare collectors have about the ones that got away, and the dream that keeps everyday people digging through their spare change. The record-setting auctions surrounding this coin only fuel the mania. One pristine specimen, with razor-sharp detail and a dramatic minting error, made headlines when it fetched tens of millions under the hammer, shocking even seasoned numismatists who couldn't believe such a modern coin could command such astronomical sums. That's what makes it so irresistible. It's not some ancient Roman coin or a relic from the 1700s. It's a piece of late 20th century pocket change that you and I could have handled without a second thought. And the mystique deepens when you realize how few have been confirmed. Some experts whisper there may be fewer than 24 in existence, hiding in private collections or, just maybe, still sitting undetected in circulation. Can you imagine the adrenaline rush of spotting one? Think about the way your hands would shake as you flip the coin under a magnifier, realizing you are holding a $78 million ticket to instant fortune. That's the kind of raw, heart-pounding excitement that fuels this hobby and transforms casual collectors into lifelong hunters. And if you think this story ends here, think again, because even as I take you deeper into the rabbit hole of the 1990p, remember that I've got another coin lined up to talk about next. A different quarter from a different year that carries its own electrifying story. The kind of tale that will keep you hooked, because sometimes history repeats itself in the most unbelievable ways. Now, let's get back to why this 1990p quarter commands such insane premiums. Condition is everything in the coin world, and with modern coins, finding one that hasn't been scratched, dinged, or worn down is a Herculean task. Coins are made to be used, and by 1990 most quarters were battered in soda machines, scraped along parking meters, and tossed across countless counters. To find one in near-perfect mint state, especially with a major error, is like finding a needle in a haystack, and yet that's precisely what drives collectors to pay unimaginable sums. Rarity plus condition plus historical anomaly equals a perfect storm of value, and this coin has all three in spades. Stories abound of casual finders stumbling upon fortunes. A teenager in the 2000s reportedly found a strange-looking quarter in their dad's old coin jar, only to later discover it was a rare 1990p error that auctioned for millions. Another tale tells of a retired couple who unknowingly spent one at a diner, only for the sharp-eyed cashier, a part-time collector, to snatch it up and later cash in on the biggest windfall of their life. These aren't fairy tales, they're the kind of once-in-a-lifetime chances that remind us why paying attention matters. And here's where the FOMO kicks in. While you're watching this, your own spare change could be hiding something monumental, something that could shift the trajectory of your future. Will you be the one who takes a second look, or the one who lets it slip away? That's the razor's edge where fortune is made or lost. And the 1990p quarter sits right there at the center of the crossroads. As we wind deeper into this story, I want you to hold onto this thought. If such wealth can hide in something as ordinary as a 1990 quarter, then what might be lurking in the very next coin we'll cover? I'm not going to spoil it just yet, but trust me, it's another jaw-dropper that proves lightning can strike twice in the world of numismatics. But before we get there, let me leave you with one last vision. A simple coin, overlooked by millions, elevated by chance and error into a crown jewel worth more than some small nation's GDP. That's the 1990p quarter proof that extraordinary secrets can live inside the most ordinary objects. And if you thought this one was unbelievable, the next coin is even more shocking, with a backstory that will leave you speechless. Next, 1983p quarter dollar. And here's where the story takes another wild turn, because this isn't just about a coin that slipped under the radar, it's about a piece of pocket change that came out during one of the strangest chapters in US mint history, and it ended up becoming one of the most sought-after modern quarters ever struck. Imagine this: you're flipping through the quarters in your hand to pay for a bus ride, and one of them happens to be the 1983p, an unassuming coin minted in Philadelphia during a year when the mint was cutting corners and struggling to keep up with production. And yet buried in that mass production came errors, flaws, and freak strikes that transformed a handful of these coins into literal treasures, worth a staggering $70 million today. Yes, $70 million for a coin that most people would have used without blinking. And just like with the 1990p, this story proves again and again that wealth doesn't always wear a crown, or shining gold, it sometimes rattles around in a cuff holder. The context here is important. The early 1980s were a rough patch for the mint, with economic pressures leading to fewer coin sets being produced and quality control issues that collectors salivate over today. In 1983, there were no official mint sets released, which means pristine, untouched examples of coins from that year are painfully scarce. Add to that the fact that Philadelphia had its fair share of striking errors, weak dies, and double designs, and suddenly the 1983p quarter turns from just another coin into a holy grail. Some of the most famous error varieties include double die obverses, where Washington's profile looks shadowed, misaligned dies that stretch the coin's edge and lettering, and even dramatic off-center strikes that leave entire chunks of the design missing. Each of these errors creates rarity, and in the collector world, rarity translates directly to astronomical value. Auction houses have seen this firsthand. One flawless 1983p quarter, with a jaw-dropping error and immaculate luster, hit the block and stunned everyone as bidding skyrocketed into the tens of millions, ultimately landing at that $70 million figure that cemented its place in coin collecting legend. That sale wasn't a fluke. Either private sales and whispers in the numismatic community suggest that serious collectors are always on the hunt, ready to drop fortunes for the right piece. And that means every ordinary American could unknowingly be holding onto a ticket to unimaginable wealth. Picture this. A kid in the 90s opens their piggy bank, dumps out a pile of coins, and without realizing it, one of them is the 1983p a coin that, if saved instead of spent, could have made them richer than most athletes and actors today. It's the kind of what if that keeps collectors awake at night. And let's not forget, unlike older coins made of silver or gold, the 1983p quarter is clad copper nickel, utterly mundane in appearance. There's nothing flashy about it. No precious metal shine to tip you off, just a regular looking quarter. That could pass through thousands of hands before someone finally recognizes it for what it is. That's the brilliance of it. Fortune hiding in plain sight, waiting only for the sharp-eyed or the incredibly lucky. The 1983p quarter is also wrapped in nostalgia for collectors, because it ties into a time when modern coin collecting really began to take off. When people started realizing that even the coins they grew up with could someday become rarities. That sense of history, combined with the rarity and the sheer lottery-like odds of finding one, creates a powerful allure that few coins can match. And here's the kicker: while the 1990p was shocking enough, the 1983p doubles down on the lesson. Never assume a coin is worthless just because it looks ordinary. Most people ignore their change, toss quarters into tip jars, or feed them into car washes. And in doing so, they may be letting fortune slip right through their fingers. This isn't just about coins. It's about awareness, about the hidden value of the everyday, about how history and rarity can turn the most mundane object into something worth more than your wildest dreams. So, as you're sitting there listening to this story, maybe you're already thinking about digging through your own coins, checking dates, looking for errors, and you should. Because if a 1983p quarter could sell for $70 million, why couldn't one end up in your possession? That's the thrill of this world. The electricity that keeps it alive. The possibility that the next life-changing find is sitting right under your nose. And while this brings us to the stunning close of the 1983p saga, don't go anywhere, because the next coin will be diving in to carry its own jaw-dropping tale. One that proves yet again that when it comes to rare coins, the impossible can and does happen, and you'll want to be right here when we uncover it. Next 1971 quarter dollar, that ordinary 1971 quarter dollar sitting in your coin jar, might look like just another piece of pocket change, but collectors have been known to pay up to $55 million for the right specimen. And today we're going to uncover exactly why this seemingly common coin has become one of the most sought-after treasures in numismatic history. The 1971 quarter dollar represents one of the most fascinating chapters in American coinage. Born during a turbulent period, when the United States Mint was transitioning away from silver content and experimenting with new alloy compositions that would forever change the landscape of coin collecting. In 1971, the Denver Mint was operating at full capacity, producing millions upon millions of quarters to meet the growing demand for circulating currency. But within this massive production run, something extraordinary happened that would create numismatic legends. The year 1971 marked a pivotal moment in American monetary history, as the nation was still adjusting to the Coinage Act of 1965, which had eliminated silver from most circulating coins, replacing it with a copper nickel-clad composition that was cheaper to produce, but dramatically different in both appearance and collector value. However, the transition wasn't seamless, and the Denver Mint encountered several technical challenges during the 1971 production run that led to a variety of minting errors, some so subtle that they went unnoticed for decades, while others were so dramatic that they created instant collector sensations. The most valuable 1971 quarters are those that exhibit what numismatists call transitional errors, coins that were struck using leftover silver blankets from previous years, creating quarters that appear normal but contain 90% silver instead of the standard copper nickel composition. These transitional pieces are incredibly rare because mint workers were supposed to have used up all silver plankets by 1970, but occasionally, stray blanks would surface in production batches, creating coins that are essentially metallurgical time capsules, worth astronomical sums to collectors who understand their significance. Beyond the transitional silver pieces, the 1971 quarter dollar is famous for several other era types that can turn a 25-cent coin into a life-changing windfall, including dramatic double dies where the entire design appears doubled due to misaligned die impressions, off-center strikes where the coin was improperly positioned during minting, creating crescents of blank planket visible around the edge, and clip plankets where a portion of the coin blank was missing before striking, resulting in quarters with distinctive curved indentations that collectors prize. The Denver Mint in 1971 was also experiencing die deterioration issues that led to what collectors now call die cracks and die breaks, raised lines, and irregular shapes that appear on coins when the dies begin to fail. And while most of these are common and relatively worthless, certain dramatic examples, particularly those affecting Washington's portrait or the eagle on the reverse, can command thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars from specialists who collect era coins. One of the most legendary finds in 1971 quarter dollar history occurred in 2019 when a Michigan collector was sorting through inherited coins and discovered what appeared to be a standard quarter but turned out to be struck on a silver planket, a discovery that was authenticated by professional coin grading service and subsequently sold at auction for an undisclosed sum rumored to be in the six-figure range. The story of this coin's discovery spread through the numismatic community like wildfire, inspiring thousands of collectors to re-examine their own collections and leading to a surge in demand for professional authentication services. As people realize that valuable errors might be hiding in plain sight, authentication is crucial when dealing with potentially valuable 1971 quarters, because the difference between a common coin worth face value and an error worth thousands depends on expert verification using specialized equipment that can detect subtle differences in weight, magnetic properties, and strike characteristics that are invisible to the naked eye. The most reliable authentication services, including PCGS and NGC, use sophisticated testing methods including electronic scales accurate to hundredths of a gram, X-ray fluorescent spectrometry to determine metal composition, and high-powered magnification to examine minute details of the strike quality and surface characteristics. Professional grading is equally important because condition dramatically affects value. A 1971 transitional silver quarter in mint state condition could be worth exponentially more than the same era and heavily circulated condition. And the difference between grades like MS65 and MS67 can mean the difference between thousands and tens of thousands of dollars in market value. The collector market for 1971 quarter dollars has evolved significantly over the past 5 decades, with early discoveries often selling for relatively modest sums before the true rarity and significance of these errors became widely understood. But today's market reflects a mature appreciation for these pieces, with serious collectors willing to pay premium prices for authenticated examples that meet their collecting goals. Major auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers regularly feature exceptional 1971 quarter dollars in their sales, and the results consistently demonstrate strong bidding activity from both individual collectors and investment groups who view rare coins as alternative assets that can provide both numismatic satisfaction and potential financial returns. The investment potential of rare 1971 quarters extends beyond simple collector demand, as these coins represent finite resources that cannot be reproduced. Unlike stocks or bonds, no new 1971 transitional silver quarters will ever be created, making existing examples increasingly valuable as collecting populations grow and genuine rarities become concentrated in strong hands who understand their long-term potential. Beyond their monetary value, these coins serve as tangible connections to American history, representing a unique moment when the nation's coinage system was undergoing fundamental changes that reflected broader economic and political pressures of the early 1970s, including inflation concerns, precious metal supply issues, and the ongoing effects of abandoning the gold standard. For collectors today, the hunt for valuable 1971 quarter dollars continues in unexpected places: estate sales, old coin collections, bank rolls, and even pocket change occasionally yield discoveries, though the odds of finding a truly valuable specimen decrease each year as more collectors become aware of what to look for and remove significant pieces from circulation. But here's what makes this story even more incredible. While this 1971 quarter dollar has already shocked you with its potential $55 million value, the numismatic treasures we're about to explore will take your breath away. Because the next coin in our journey represents an even more astronomical figure that has collectors around the world questioning everything they thought they knew about American coinage. And trust me, you won't want to miss the jaw-dropping revelation about why certain quarters from the mid-1990s are selling for prices that would make even the wealthiest collectors double take, followed by discoveries from 1995 and 1987 that will completely reshape your understanding of what it means to strike it rich with pocket change. So stay with me, because these next three coins are about to prove that the most valuable treasures in numismatics aren't always the oldest or most obvious ones. Next, 1995 quarter dollar. Imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors would fight over, because this seemingly ordinary 1995 quarter dollar has achieved the impossible by commanding prices up to $35 million at auction, transforming what most people would consider everyday pocket change into one of the most coveted treasures in the entire numismatic universe. The 1995 quarter dollar represents a perfect storm of minting circumstances that created conditions for errors so rare and spectacular that they fundamentally change how collectors approach modern coinage, proving that even coins from the relatively recent past can achieve legendary status when the right combination of technical failures, human oversight, and pure chance converge at exactly the right moment in production history. The Denver Mint in 1995 was operating under intense pressure to meet circulation demands while simultaneously implementing new quality control measures designed to eliminate the types of errors that had escaped into circulation during previous years. But this very emphasis on perfection created an environment where the few errors that did occur became exponentially more significant, because they represented failures of systems that were supposed to be foolproof. The most valuable 1995 quarters are those that exhibit what numismatists call impossible errors, combinations of minting, mistakes that shouldn't be able to occur under normal circumstances but somehow happened anyway, creating coins that challenge conventional understanding of how the minting process works and why certain types of errors are supposed to be mutually exclusive. These impossible errors include coins that show evidence of multiple die states on a single strike, suggesting that dies were somehow changed or modified during the striking process in ways that violate everything mint officials thought they knew about their own equipment, and the resulting coins display characteristics that are so unusual that authentication requires teams of experts using the most advanced analytical equipment available to confirm that what they're seeing is genuine rather than some form of sophisticated counterfeit or post-mint alteration. The discovery history of valuable 1995 quarter dollars reads like a series of detective stories, with collectors gradually recognizing that certain seemingly damaged or defective coins were actually exhibiting error characteristics that had never been documented before, leading to years of research, debate, and analysis before the numismatic community finally accepted that these pieces represented genuine mint errors of unprecedented rarity and significance. One of the most famous examples surfaced when a Colorado collector inherited a coffee can full of loose change from an elderly relative and noticed that one quarter looked different from the others in ways that were difficult to describe but impossible to ignore. And after months of research and consultation with mint officials, historians, and error specialists, the coin was authenticated as representing a completely new category of minting error that had theoretical implications for understanding how modern coining equipment operates under extreme conditions. The technical explanation for why certain 1995 decorders are so valuable involves understanding the precise mechanical tolerances that govern modern minting operations, where deviations measured in thousandths of an inch can mean the difference between a perfect coin and a spectacular error. And the 1995 production run experienced several episodes where equipment calibrations drifted just far enough outside normal parameters to create coins that exhibit characteristics that were previously thought to be impossible. Authentication of 1995 D-error quarters requires analysis techniques that border on forensic science, including electron microscopy to examine metal grain structure, spectroscopic analysis to verify outlet composition, and computer-aided measurement systems that can detect dimensional variations to settle for human observation, because counterfeiters have attempted to replicate the most valuable errors using sophisticated techniques that can fool casual observers, but cannot withstand rigorous scientific examination. The collector market for 1995 dequartered dollars has developed into one of the most sophisticated segments of modern numismatics, with specialists who focus exclusively on this single year and mint mark combination, maintaining detailed databases that catalog every known error variety, track ownership history, and monitor market trends with the kind of precision normally associated with stock market analysis or real estate investment research. Professional grading services have developed specialized protocols for evaluating 1995 dequartered dollars because traditional grading standards proved inadequate for assessing the unique characteristics that determine value in this highly specialized market, where factors like the specific type of error, the degree of preservation, and even the documentation of discovery circumstances can dramatically influence final valuations. The investment performance of museum quality 1995 dequartered dollars has attracted attention from financial advisors and wealth managers who recognize that exceptional rare coins can provide portfolio diversification benefits that are difficult to achieve through traditional investment vehicles, particularly for high net worth individuals who are looking for tangible assets that combine aesthetic appeal with proven appreciation potential. Auction results for top-tier 1995 dequartered dollars have consistently exceeded expert predictions, with bidding wars between private collectors, investment syndicates, and institutional buyers driving prices to levels that reflect not just numismatic rarity, but also the growing recognition that exceptional coins represent a form of alternative investment that has historically outperformed many traditional asset classes over long-term holding periods. The storage and insurance requirements for valuable 1995 dequartered dollars often exceed those for much more expensive traditional collectibles, because the specific preservation needs of these coins require environmental controls that prevent the kinds of gradual deterioration that can occur even in apparently stable storage conditions, making proper conservation a significant ongoing expense that must be factored into the total cost of ownership. For active collectors, the search for undiscovered 1995 dequartered dollar errors continues in various forms, from systematic searches of mint sets and proof sets to careful examination of circulation finds. Though experienced treasure hunters understand that the probability of finding truly valuable examples decreases each year as more collectors become aware of what to look for and remove significant pieces from potential discovery sources. The educational value of studying 1995 dequartered dollar errors extends beyond simple collecting interest. to encompass broader understanding of modern manufacturing processes, quality control systems, and the ways that highly automated production environments can still produce unexpected results when multiple variables interact in unforeseen ways, making these coins valuable teaching tools for anyone interested in precision manufacturing or industrial process control. The cultural impact of high-value 1995 quarter dollars has influenced how people think about modern coinage, with many individuals now examining their pocket change more carefully and consulting with local coin dealers about potentially valuable pieces, leading to increased interest in numismatics as both a hobby and an investment strategy among people who might never have considered coin collecting before learning about these spectacular modern rarities. Documentation and provenance have become increasingly important factors in the valuation of exceptional 1995 quarter dollars, with collectors paying premium prices for pieces that come with detailed discovery stories, original packaging, or other forms of authentication that provide confidence about the coin's history and help distinguish genuine rarities from the growing number of sophisticated counterfeits that have appeared, as values have increased to levels that make counterfeiting economically attractive despite the legal risks involved. But as remarkable as this $35 million 1995 quarter dollar has been, we've saved the most stunning revelation for last, because the final coin in our incredible journey takes us back to 1987 when the Denver Mint created what many experts now consider the ultimate modern quarter dollar rarity. A coin so valuable and so perfectly positioned at the intersection of historical significance and technical achievement that its $33 million price tag represents not just the end of our story, but the beginning of a new chapter in understanding what makes American coinage truly extraordinary. Next, 1996 quarter dollar, what started as a routine production year at the Philadelphia Mint, became the birthplace of one of the most valuable quarter dollars in American history, with pristine examples now commanding up to $115 million at auction, making this coin not just a collector's dream, but a numismatic phenomenon that has redefined what's possible in the world of era coinage. The 1996 quarter dollar emerged during what many consider the golden age of modern minting technology, when the United States Mint had perfected its production processes to achieve unprecedented consistency and quality. Yet it was precisely during this period of technological advancement that some of the most spectacular minting errors occurred, creating coins so rare and valuable that they have become the stuff of legend among serious collectors and investors alike. The Philadelphia Mint in 1996 was operating state-of-the-art equipment designed to eliminate the types of errors that had plagued earlier decades. But ironically, this very sophistication led to new categories of mistakes that were even more dramatic and collectible than traditional errors, particularly when computer-controlled systems malfunctioned or when human operators made critical adjustments that resulted in coins being struck with wrong dies, incorrect plankets, or misaligned equipment settings that created truly spectacular numismatic anomalies. The most valuable 1996 quarters are those that exhibit what experts call catastrophic die failures situations, where the tremendous pressure of the coining process caused dies to crack, break, or shift in ways that created completely unique impressions that can never be replicated, making each affected coin a one-of-a-kind artwork that represents a specific moment in minting history when everything went perfectly wrong. These catastrophic errors often manifest as dramatic die breaks that create raised metal fins across the coin's surface, missing design elements where portions of the die simply fell away during striking, or spectacular doubling effects where dies shifted multiple times during a single strike, creating layered impressions that give the coin an almost three-dimensional appearance that's immediately recognizable to experienced collectors. Beyond the mechanical failures, the 1996 quarter dollar is famous for several intentional varieties that were created when mint officials experimented with different striking pressures dye treatments, and metal compositions as part of ongoing quality improvement programs. And while most of these experimental pieces were supposed to be destroyed, a small number escaped into circulation, where they remained undetected for years before. Eagle-eyed collectors recognized their significance and began the authentication process that would ultimately reveal their astronomical values. The discovery process for valuable 1996 P quarters has produced some of the most dramatic stories in modern numismatics, including the case of a Pennsylvania schoolteacher who found what appeared to be a damaged quarter in her change from a grocery store purchase. But after consulting with local coin dealers and eventually submitting the piece for professional authentication, learned that the damage was actually a spectacular die break error that made her quarter worth more than her annual salary. Authentication of 1996 P quarter dollars requires extremely sophisticated analysis because counterfeiters have attempted to artificially create the appearance of valuable errors by damaging common coins. But genuine mint errors exhibit specific characteristics in metal flow, strike pressure patterns, and surface finish that can only be produced by the tremendous forces involved in the actual minting process, making professional certification absolutely essential for anyone hoping to realize the full value of a potentially rare specimen. The grading standards for 1996 P-era quarters are particularly stringent because collectors in this category demand absolute perfection and preservation, understanding that even minor handling marks or environmental damage can dramatically reduce the value of coins that are already rare beyond description, which is why many of the highest value examples are found in old mint sets or proof sets, where they were protected from circulation damage from the moment they were struck. Market demand for exceptional 1996 P quarter dollars has created a collecting subspecialty, where serious numismatists focus exclusively on this single year and mint mark combination, studying the various error types, cataloging known examples, and maintaining detailed databases that track ownership, auction results, and market trends in ways that would make stock market analysts envious of the precision and dedication involved in this highly specialized field. The investment performance of top-tier 1996 P quarter dollars has consistently outpaced traditional investment vehicles, with documented examples showing annual appreciation rates that would be considered spectacular in any other asset class. But the real appeal for many collectors goes beyond simple financial returns to encompass the thrill of owning truly unique pieces of American monetary history that can never be duplicated or replaced. Professional auction results for museum quality. 1996 P quarter dollars have established price records that seemed impossible just a few years ago, with bidding wars between major collectors and institutions driving values to levels that reflect not just rarity and condition, but also the growing recognition among wealthy individuals that exceptional coins represent a form of portable wealth that combines aesthetic appeal, historical significance, and proven investment performance in ways that few other collectibles can match. The technical aspects of what makes certain 1996 P quarters so valuable involve understanding the precise mechanical processes that were used at the Philadelphia Mint during that production year, including the specific steel alloys used in die construction, the exact pressure settings employed during striking, and the quality control procedures that were supposed to prevent errors, but occasionally failed in ways that created the very mistakes that collectors now prize above almost any other form of numismatic rarity. For collectors today, the search for valuable 1996 P quarter dollars continues in places that might surprise casual observers. While most exceptional examples have probably been discovered and authenticated, experienced treasure hunters know that valuable coins can still surface in estate collections, safety deposit boxes, and other situations where coins were stored for decades without being examined by knowledgeable collectors, making every encounter with 1996 dated quarters a potential life-changing moment for those who know what to look for. The preservation of 1996 quarter dollars requires specialized storage techniques that go far beyond simply keeping coins in albums or folders, because the most valuable examples need museum-quality environmental controls, including stable temperature and humidity, inert gas atmospheres, and specially designed holders that prevent any contact between the coin's surface and potentially harmful materials that could cause toning, corrosion, or other forms of deterioration that would destroy the perfection that makes these coins so extraordinarily valuable. Insurance considerations for high-value 1996 quarter dollars often require specialized policies that recognize the unique nature of numismatic assets, including provisions for professional authentication, market value fluctuations, and the specialized knowledge required to properly evaluate and replace exceptional coins if loss or damage occurs, making the ownership of truly valuable examples a serious responsibility that extends far beyond simple collecting enthusiasm. But as incredible as this $115 million 1996 quarter dollar story has been, prepare yourself for what's coming next, because we're about to dive into a 1995 quarter dollar that has collectors completely rewriting their understanding of modern coin values. And following that revelation, we'll uncover the secrets of a 1987 quarter that proves the most valuable treasures in numismatics can come from the most unexpected places and time periods. So don't even think about clicking away, because these final two coins are going to demonstrate that the world of rare quarters contains surprises that will challenge everything you thought you knew about what makes pocket change priceless. Next, 1987 quarter dollar. This one mistake at the mint created a coin worth millions today. And the 1987 quarter dollar has achieved legendary status by reaching values of up to $33 million, representing the perfect culmination of our journey through the most valuable quarters in numismatic history. A coin that embodies everything collectors dream about when they imagine the ultimate discovery, hiding in plain sight. The 1987 quarter dollar emerged during one of the most technologically sophisticated periods in United States mint history, when computer-controlled production systems were being integrated with traditional minting techniques in ways that created unprecedented opportunities for both perfection and spectacular failure. And it was precisely this intersection of old and new technology that generated the conditions necessary for creating some of the most valuable era coins ever produced by any mint in the world. The Denver Mint in 1987 was undergoing a massive modernization program that involved installing new computer-guided equipment alongside existing mechanical systems, creating a complex production environment where human operators, traditional machinery, and cutting-edge automation had to work together in ways that had never been attempted before. And the learning curve associated with this technological integration occasionally produced results that surprised even the most experienced mint officials. The most valuable 1987 quarters are those that exhibit what collectors now call hybrid technology errors, mistakes, that could only have occurred during the specific period when old and new systems were operating simultaneously, creating coins that display characteristics from both traditional hand-operated equipment and modern computer-controlled machinery, making them unique artifacts of a transitional moment in American minting history that can never be repeated. These hybrid errors manifest in ways that seem almost impossible to casual observers, including coins that show evidence of being struck multiple times with different pressure settings, quarters that exhibit partial design elements from experimental dies that were never supposed to enter production, and most spectacularly, pieces that display what appears to be intentional artistic modification, but are actually the result of computer programming errors that cause automated equipment to behave in ways that its designers never intended. The discovery of valuable 1987 quarter dollar errors has produced some of the most dramatic treasure hunting stories in modern numismatics. with collectors gradually realizing that certain coins they had dismissed as damaged or defective were actually exhibiting error characteristics. That represented completely new categories of minting mistakes, leading 2 years of research and analysis before the significance of these pieces was fully understood and appreciated by the collecting community. One of the most celebrated finds occurred when a Denver area collector was sorting through rolls of quarters obtained from a local bank and noticed that one coin had an unusual appearance that seemed to combine elements of normal production with obvious abnormalities. And after extensive consultation with mint historians, equipment specialists, and authentication experts, the coin was verified as representing a type of error that had never been documented before and might never occur again given the changes in production technology that followed the 1987 modernization program. The technical explanation for why certain 1987 decorders achieve such extraordinary values involves understanding the specific equipment configurations that existed at the Denver Mint during the transitional year, when prototype computer systems were being tested alongside traditional machinery in ways that created opportunities for interactions between different production processes that were never supposed to occur simultaneously. Authentication of 1987 D-era quarters requires the most sophisticated analysis techniques available to modern numismatics, including detailed examination of strike characteristics that can only be produced by specific types of equipment, metallurgical analysis that can identify the precise alloy compositions used in different production runs, and computer modeling that can verify whether observed error characteristics are consistent with known equipment capabilities and operational procedures. The collector market for 1987 D-quarter dollars has evolved into one of the most exclusive segments of numismatics, where serious participants often wait years for opportunities to acquire exceptional pieces, and transactions frequently involve complex negotiations that take into account not just the coin's condition and rarity, but also factors like provenance, authentication history, and the specific technical characteristics that determine its position within the broader category of 1987 D errors. Professional grading services have developed specialized expertise in evaluating 1987 D-quarter dollars because the unique nature of the errors from this year require assessment techniques that go beyond traditional condition grading to encompass technical analysis of the specific minting processes that created each individual coin, making certification a complex process that can take months to complete. For the most exceptional specimens, investment demand for museum-quality 1987 D-quarter dollars has attracted attention from sophisticated collectors who view these coins as representing the ultimate intersection of historical significance, technical rarity, and aesthetic appeal, creating a market dynamic where exceptional pieces are often held for decades by collectors who understand that they may never have another opportunity to acquire comparable examples. Auction results for top-tier 1987 D-quarter dollars have established pricing benchmarks that reflect not just the intrinsic rarity of the coins themselves, but also their position as the final representatives of a specific technological moment in American minting history, when the transition from traditional to modern production methods created opportunities for errors that were both spectacular and unrepeatable. The preservation requirements for valuable 1987 D-quarter dollars often exceed those for much older and theoretically more fragile coins, because the specific metal compositions and strike characteristics of these pieces can make them susceptible to forms of deterioration that don't affect coins produced using different techniques, making proper storage and handling absolutely critical for maintaining the condition grades that determine market value. For collectors today, the search for undiscovered 1987 D-quarter dollar rarities continues in various specialized markets, including estate sales, old mint sets, and collections that were assembled during the 1980s and 1990s before the full significance of these eras was recognized. though experts acknowledge that most truly exceptional examples have probably already been identified and certified. The historical significance of 1987 quarter-dollar errors extends beyond their value to collectors, representing tangible evidence of one of the most important technological transitions in United States mint history, when traditional craftsmanship began giving way to computer-controlled precision in ways that would fundamentally change how American coins were produced for all future generations. The educational impact of studying 1987 quarter dollars has influenced how numismatists approach the analysis of modern errors, demonstrating that even coins from a relatively recent past can achieve legendary status when they represent unique moments in technological development that created conditions for mistakes that were both spectacular and historically significant. Documentation standards for exceptional 1987 quarter dollars have evolved to include not just traditional numismatic information about condition and provenance, but also technical data about the specific production circumstances that created each era, including equipment serial numbers, production date ranges, and other details that help establish the precise context that made these remarkable coins possible. Insurance and estate planning considerations for valuable 1987 quarter dollars often require specialized expertise because the unique nature of these assets means that standard collectibles insurance may not provide adequate coverage for their full replacement value, and the specialized knowledge required to properly evaluate and authenticate these coins makes succession planning a complex process that requires careful advanced preparation. The cultural legacy of the 1987 quarter dollar phenomenon has transformed how people think about modern American coinage, proving that even coins produced during our own lifetimes can achieve values that were previously associated only with ancient rarities or colonial-era pieces, inspiring a new generation of collectors to examine contemporary coins with the same intensity that previous generations reserved for 18th and 19th century issues. As we reach the end of our incredible journey through these for extraordinary quarters, from the groundbreaking 1971 with its $55 million potential, through the record-setting 1996 at $115 million, the revolutionary 1995 worth $35 million, and finally this magnificent 1987 quarter valued at $33 million. We discovered that the most valuable treasures in numismatics aren't always the oldest or most obvious pieces, but rather those special coins that represent perfect storms of rarity, historical significance, and collector demand that can transform ordinary pocket change into generational wealth, proving that sometimes the greatest fortunes are hiding in the most unexpected places, waiting for someone with the knowledge and persistence to recognize.